When I first heard about this project here, my first thought was, what a blessing and what an opportunity to have this while being incarcerated.
I was excited about being able to be mentored by professional musicians.
Being a church from out in the community, it's like, hey, the possibilities are endless.
It's a connection for our guys to have some normality, and also not only normality, but to realize they can be different and they can take and make an impact.
This started with an email from Chaplain Mike asking if the Eagle Brook musicians would ever be interested in working with and mentoring his worship team called Voices of Hope. Would it be possible to bring 4 talented church musicians over the course of 8 to 10 months to a state prison to mentor a worship band and then perform together? It sounded reasonable until you realize you only have 90 minutes together once a month for those 8 to 10 months. Strangers coming together for maybe 12 hours total. I wasn't sure it could be done, but it was at least worth a try. And this is the story of that journey.
It's a privilege to be able to go and be with them. And I don't think I quite understood the depths of that until I had done it a few times and started to realize these guys are craving good relationships. What I was humbled by was just initially the fact that they accepted me. You know, that they were willing to let me come be a part of what they were doing.
How does it make you feel that for many of these guys, you are the only visitors they get?
Yeah. That's a very, that's powerful.
Maybe a little bit of relief that I'm doing something useful. Like, oh, what an easy thing to do, just show up.
Obviously, I think it makes me feel sad. It makes me feel grateful that we get to be that for them.
Just because I don't see them doesn't mean that God doesn't see them.
Yeah, it definitely hurts my heart for sure.
They're literally locked up away from the world where no one ever does see them. They are invisible.
I'm Ted, and I'm a guitarist for the Voices of Hope.
My name's Aaron. I'm a vocalist with Voices of Hope.
I'm Carl, and I'm the bass player for Voices of Hope.
Ryan Yezjevsky, I'm the drummer / percussionist.
Am I hot, am I cold? Tell me.
My name is David, and I play the keyboards in the Voices of Hope group.
I'm Steve, and I'm a guitar player and vocals for Voices of Hope.
Am I half, am I wholehearted?
My name is Tim, and my role at Voices of Hope is I am the director of the band, creative director, so I do a lot of creative things.
Even the demons believe and tremble. Even the demons believe and tremble.
We were just really discussing trying to work with the Voices of Hope, trying to make them a little better, take them to another level. And the suggestion and I guess the idea came about, I know some folks at Eagle Brook. We have the opportunity to hear them, on a weekly basis on our Cablecast channel. And I thought this might be a great connection to take and contact them.
What's the color of my face?
The major limitation that we're dealing with is time. It's just time and flexibility from the resident's perspective. We just don't have the kind of time that you would normally want to have in a kind of spiritual conversation, musical educational conversation, relational conversation. Everything is pressured because of the environment that they're in. So I think that's really the biggest challenge. How do you navigate that in a way that doesn't unnecessarily mess with the things that are already helping them thrive in that space? So how do you not stop that, but actually support it?
the name Voices of Hope is literally like they get to be that for the community that they're in. And that is probably the best thing that they're a part of, I would say, in that prison, is that they are the selected few that have auditioned and gone through the process and have the talent, have the background with music, that now get to be the band that like brings people into the presence of God and gives people hope.
When I met these 4 guys, they have come in and just been servants.
One of the guys, first time I was in rehearsal, just looked me dead in the eye and said, "This is the best part of my week. When we're here, we're free."
First time I met the Voices of Hope, I was kind of just struck with like the joy that they had in their camaraderie and just having kind of acknowledgement from the outside world too.
They were organically connected to each other in a way I hadn't seen in many bands before this. The first time I saw them play a song together, I didn't know how they started. They don't have in-ears and click tracks and the kinds of things that a lot of modern praise bands have at churches today. But they kind of started all moving to the same tempo of body language, and looks like they're already in the song.
It has been a great experience. I've learned a lot from these guys. I hope they have probably learned a little bit from us too. I mean, they blow us out the water, just showing us the little bits of songs that we've been working on.
He's a great guitar player to begin with, but then just to see, kind of, especially with the song, the Eaglebrook songs that we did, just seeing how he kind of grabbed onto some of those parts, made them his own.
At what point in the process did you guys feel like there's actually something here, like there's a relationship that's being built?
It was probably maybe 6 months into going up, meeting with the guys, where it kind of felt like our relationships were becoming more solidified.
Music is healing, emotionally healing, spiritually healing, and just to come together and make something and also bring positive vibes and change to this environment of prison.
With 4 working sessions remaining, it was back to their own church for a weekend. Inspired by the Prison Project, the guys invited Restore Fellowship, a band of formerly incarcerated, to join them at rehearsal night.
When I found out, these are former inmates, I had that split-second insecurity of like, should I change anything about how I'm showing up to this rehearsal so I am appropriately connecting who's here with how it should be going? And then I realized, well, no, God just wants us to show up how we are.
I was kind of in the music directing mode, so I wanted to kind of show a real life example of what rehearsal is like in our context, and kind of letting it with all the, we were down a musician, so we had some technical snafus where it's kind of fun to be like, this is kind of a little bit of the chaos that goes into getting things up and running.
Yeah, I was just focused on Jesus and worshiping, being thankful for what he's done, and I kind of see a collective image in my head of like things that I've done that God's forgave me for, and just his redemption that's been with me along my path. And then I hear that in Eli through his voice and the way that he sings. There's a redemption, there's a salvation, there's just something about the way he was singing that led me deeper into worship.
And then it was back to the prison to continue their journey with their friends behind bars. Tell me about Dave.
Keyboard player, learning how to play keyboards, really. He's figuring it out. And he's got all of these systems that he's developed to be able to figure out how different chords relate to each other, how different musical intervals relate to each other.
It's very challenging considering that the piano is, for the most part, a new instrument to me. I had a little bit of training when I was a youth, and from then on, there was nothing. So I pretty much picked out books.
He's got a little slide rule he's developed for transposing keys. He's really particular in thinking about how to play music. And when I first saw that, the first time we walked in there and started talking with each other and he was showing me some of these things, I thought, well, this is really cool that you came up with this. And then I got to thinking, this guy doesn't have a piano in his cell. The only time he sees a keyboard or gets to feel a keyboard is when he walks into this room once or twice a week at the most. And so the whole rest of the time, if he's gonna learn how to play an instrument, he has to learn it in his mind.
One of the side benefits for the church musicians was developing a strong relationship with each other.
The time we spent in the car was really productive. First of all, productive just for developing our relationships. Because even though we play together at different campuses, we're not together every weekend, we're not together all the time. And when you spend an hour both ways with 3 other guys in a car, just talking about life, talking about the experience you just had, trying to plan ahead for what's going to happen next.
There's a brothership there for sure. Just to be seeing the scenery together. And there's certainly guys that I, more so than before.
I think it was a really great time driving back from our visits to kind of decompress together, to kind of remember even what all was going on, because so much, that's the interesting thing, is how much can happen in 90 minutes that it's easy to forget.
Every car ride home that we took was just this excitement of like a Christmas morning conversation and talking about all the ideas, and every guy that we had in the car just lit up with excitement about the possibilities about where this could go.
With the clock ticking and only 3 sessions remaining, it's time to pick the music they'd like to introduce to the Voices of Hope.
If you were going to sit down with this group like all by yourself and you were going to coach it, like to what degree would you coach it? Well, how much would you listen? What kinds of things do you think they already do that would really kind of fit that vibe?
The first thing that comes to mind is the tempo. Since it's such a stripped back song in the beginning.
Yeah.
Who is going to initiate that tempo and keep it consistent? That might be a part.
If we, like, I love this. Like, I think that there's a really strong chorus there. So, do we bring a verse progression, maybe some melody ideas, maybe a few lines or something? Mm-hmm. We go around and say like how, like, it's because it's their story.
Those 3 sessions now behind and new songs learned, it's finally time to record together.
We're going to do the taping of the performance with the guys. I was just kind of thrilled all day. I didn't really have any preconceived notions of what was going to happen. I was like, we've been working together. It's kind of a time to be joyous together.
It's refreshing and humbling and an honor to have people want to work with us, because a lot of times people that are incarcerated kind of get deemed to be, scary people, or, for lack of a better word, considered monsters or whatever. So it's changed my outlook that people do actually care. And not everybody has to care the way that you want them to, but to have people that actually care makes it know that you have the capacity to change and you have the capacity to better yourself.
See It in the Sunrise, if I recall correctly, came up because the experience we were having going into that space was one of confinement. Obviously, the guys that are living there are confined. And there's so much in the song See It in the Sunrise that is about the expansiveness of what God's up to.
See it in the sunrise, hear it in the trees, taste it in the harvest, all of this for your glory. Let it echo in the mountain, see it shimmer on the sea, feel it rush in the river, all of this for your glory. Everything that has breath, everything that has breath, sing holy are you, Lord.
Lyrically is one of my favorite songs that Eaglebrook has written. It's just like everything that has breath praises God. And we see it in the sunrise, we see it in the chairs, we see it in the books, we see it in the way that we sit, we see it in our conversation, we see it in, just everything that has creation is from God. And so if we take the time to just be aware, we can see that all over the place.
Everything that has breath, sing holy are you, Lord.
This is my way of giving back to the community, not just for myself, but for God, for the victims that, each of us have. It's just one of those things that I look at it as kind of my duty to do something to better my life and to prevent future harm.
Everything that has breath, everything that has breath, sing holy are you, Lord.
Kind of reminded me of Ecclesiastes, that our life is a breath, in the sense that the time commitment that we took to be a part of this thing was like this, and the amount of time we got where we're just in each other's company, playing the instruments, praying together, or hearing about each other's lives was more like that, as a microcosm of it. And yet we got a lot done in that time, not just music-wise, but relationally, because everybody was intentional. I don't know where else in society these days we have 20 men in a room, no phones, no notifications, no places other people need to be. We're all there. And everybody's moved around their whole day and schedule for a shared relational period of time. It was unique in that way.
Let It Be Said, again, was just a lot of lyrical content. Let it be said that God, you're always faithful. Even in the worst circumstances, God is faithful, and it's not about our circumstances, and that's a hard thing for humans and myself even to fully be devoted despite my circumstances. But I think that's just what we try to strive for, is to honor God and to love Him.
In every season, no matter where I am, Lord, remind me, this by your strength I stand.
They were older songs, which kind of caught a few of our other musicians off guard. Like, oh, that's interesting that you'd pick that. And I think people probably think that it's a lot more complicated than it really was.
The public has a stigma where they say, you know, once you're in prison, you're always in prison type of thing, even when you are out, because you always have that label of being a felon or whatever the case is, and it never escapes you. It's always a shadow that you're carrying around.
There's been a sense through this experience, just showing up in obedience by going to a prison, getting to know people that society has said you don't count anymore and you're done and we need you out of the way until you die.
We all have a story, don't we? God is just absolutely incredible at rewriting our story.
There's that Eminem song, you only get one shot. You know, you only get one opportunity. And I always think about this analogy, or just of being on my deathbed. What would I think of? And I have all my family around me, like, what would be the things that I wished I would have done? And the things I spent too much time doing. This is one of those things that I don't have enough time to keep. How do I say this? Like, I'm never gonna regret putting time into these people and being a source of light.
So that's where I feel like the church comes in, right? Like, you know, if we get out and we get that connection, we have that opportunity, whether it's coming in and donating time, doing the services, or writing people. I got a birthday card a couple weeks ago from a church group that I've never even heard of. So sometimes that just brings a smile to somebody's face, and it's, man, somebody cares. My own family didn't send a birthday card, but God did.
It's helpful to have programs like this that we are able to put our time and personal growth into.
Getting a program like what we're in right now, where we're allowed to play music in any form, but especially for religious events, and express our beliefs and our feelings, it helps, it takes us away from the situation that we're in.
What I'd like to tell people that are on the outs about the human beings that are here, that a majority of them are real good people, you know. They have made mistakes in their life, and a lot of them, whether they want to just readily admit it or because of their age or maturity or not wanting to look uncool, they really do have remorse, and they really do have regret, and they really do want to get back out there and contribute to society and get a job and be there for their families.
For sure, 100% that people can truly change inside and be different people.